Howdy, folks. Happy Thursday. Happy NFL Draft Day. I know that, it's a different sport, but, for people like Russ and I, Russ, big Jets fan, they got 2 picks in the top 7, top 10. Giants have picks in the 2 in the top 7. But there's talk about them trading down, and the Bills talking about trading up and all that stuff. So, our tradition, me and a bunch of guys I used to work with at the bank, we go someplace, get a bunch of wings and beer and sit there and watch the draft and, track social media and see what happens. The one thing that sucks is post-pandemic, most places close at 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Right.
And based on where the Bills are drafting, their pick is probably not going to be till 11 or 11:30. So unless we can beg the people to keep the place open for a half an hour, we'll be in the parking lot or driving home when the Bills make their pick. Anyway, start us off the pre-show, Russ.
All right. So let's talk about baseball and the beanball, because I want to say the Mets have been beaned
19 times.
I was going to say 18. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
In a short season.
Yeah, 20 games.
Doesn't make sense. It's not like they have a bunch of guys that crowd the plate.
Right.
I'm really having a hard time with it. They don't have a lot of wise guys on this team. It's not like the 86 Mets where they had a little bit of a reputation for being rough and tumble. But every team's throwing at them, and they're all blaming the spider tack, right? But the problem is, the Mets pitchers aren't really hitting anybody. They've had like 2 or 3 hit batters. So they're not having the same problem.
Yeah, didn't Bassett say something about that excuse is BS or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, because he was apparently a spider tack guy. So, yeah, in the end, Max Scherzer spoke on a non-pitching day, which pitchers don't generally do, saying, listen, if you're going to, after yesterday's bench clearing brawl with the Mets and the Cardinals, Arenado got all huffy on a high and inside pitch. Didn't even hit him. Like, it was ridiculous. Didn't even touch him.
Yeah.
And now Scherzer's basically putting teams on notice saying, listen, you keep beating our guys and we're going to do something about it.
I found it tough to support the Cardinals because I like the Cardinals. They're my second favorite team, but I found it tough to support them because the pitch that Arenado lost his mind on was maybe chest high in, maybe 6 inches away from hitting him. Yeah. Whereas apparently Pete Alonso got beamed on the head.
In the head.
And then
J.D. Davis in the 8th inning too.
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to start that stuff. I mean, all of a sudden that, in the last few years, that's a cardinal sin. Obviously, it's always been a cardinal sin to go head hunting. Remember, Dickie Thon's career in the 80s ended or at least his career as an effective star shortstop ended when, who was it? Was it Mike Torres or somebody?
Yeah, Torres, I think.
Hit him in the head. He was never the same. There have been players who've been like Giancarlo Stanton got hit in the face by something. Now his career's been pretty good since, but you just don't do that because you're putting, especially when it's a 95 mile an hour fastball, you're putting somebody's life at risk. But
I could see if the Mets were beaming everybody else,
right?
But they're not. And
they don't strike me as like an overly annoying or overly I mean, if you wanted to beam the Red Sox or the Blue Jays, I can understand why, because they're a bunch of showboating dicks. I mean, a lot of them are not as much the Blue Jays, but the Red Sox especially.
Yeah, the Red Sox, I could see it. Yeah, so this is the thing where Major League Baseball is going to have to do something about it. Otherwise, there's a problem. One more thing, though. So ever since Major League Baseball bought Rollins, they've been in charge of the baseballs for the last couple of years.
Yes.
And there's all kinds of mayhem now. We're going to make it tighter wound. We're going to make it looser wound. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. They really do need to set a standard. Pitchers are getting tired of it.
Well, home runs are down this year, and some people are saying, the reason is because they now have a new CBA, and now they want to limit salaries, and by lowering the number of home runs, maybe that'll help pitchers, but hitters, you won't be able to get as much money.
Home runs are down because every team has a humidor, Mike.
Well, that's true.
The balls are all in the humidors.
Well, yeah, well, it's funny. Well, that had a chilling effect in Colorado, obviously, because the ball was going out there like it was, you were hitting the ball on the moon. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, I mean, I wish they would come up with a standard. Now they're talking about, there are balls that they're apparently they're using in Japan that they may use in the minor leagues that have a natural tackiness to them. And that would eliminate the spider tack. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I know is that I just wish, right now the bastardization of baseball. I know that you hate the DH in the National League. I think that's I like the differentiation between the two leagues. That's gone. That'll never come back. Unfortunately, this extra inning bull crap with the runner in the 10th
runner.
I don't like, certain things, like I don't mind relievers being brought in that have to stay in for at least 3 batters.
No, I've gotten over that. That's fine.
Because though Tony La Russa bringing in Rick Honeycutt for one lefty and then bringing in another guy and then bringing in another guy, that contributed to 4 or 5 hour games. So I don't have a problem with that. But there's a lot of things that have happened in the last couple of years that I think hurt the game. And Rob Manfred is probably the main reason why those things are happening.
I don't know why Michael Cohen's writing this, but he wrote shortstops, Wagner or Jeter. Honus Wagner is the greatest shortstop of all time.
Yeah.
It's really not arguable. So whatever.
No, right. And don't get me wrong. I'm a Yankee fan, and I hold Derek Jeter in in high esteem. I don't put him up there with Honus Wagner. I do put him ahead of Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken is the most overrated baseball.
I would put Jeter ahead of Ripken too, because like Ripken was a good fielder.
Yes.
He wasn't like a Gold Glove every year fielder.
Right.
And at least Jeter did do things in the field that nobody else could do besides getting the 3,000 hits.
But look at the consistency of Ripken's offense. There were years where he hit 230, and then he'd have an MVP year, and then 2 years where he'd hit 250. It was all, who knows what would happen. His main claim to fame is breaking Gehrig's record, and that's fine. But really, at a certain point, that I think decreased his offensive statistics. So anyway, all right, let's get the show started. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, April 28th, 2022.
I'm Russ Cohen, and Alex Ovechkin's out tonight. Sorry, Mike.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. And with the 4th selection in the NFL draft, the New York Jets select – no, just kidding. All right. Yeah, I know. Please, Russ will be fetching tonight. Until that pick is made. Okay, let's start with the low hanging fruit. The Vegas Golden Knights are done. It's over with. They lost. Now I couldn't believe this when I heard this statistic. They did not score in 17 shootout attempts in the 2 losses to Dallas and then to Chicago yesterday. For a team with all that offensive talent, Russ, that's hard to do.
It is. I'll tell you what I'm not enjoying, though. And there have definitely been some members of the Buffalo media tracking this almost to be like happy that Jack Eichel's out of it. And
it's also the Buffalo fan base. A lot, they're
no, but I see media people doing it too.
Yeah. Not just Buffalo.
No, that's true too. There's again, it's not Jack Eichel's fault that he makes $10 million. It's not.
No,
it's the Vegas Golden Knights' fault that when they acquired a player with a $10 million salary, that they didn't have a plan to do what was going to be the rest of the team with the rest of the money. My big thing now with Vegas is, I am worried about them for next year, because if they can't get out of the Leonard deal, and Leonard's sort of like the Leonard of old, where all of a sudden he's like an okay goalie, they're going to have big cap problems. They're going to have to get rid of another player. They're going to lose Riley Smith, who you saw the Vegas Golden Knights without Riley Smith. It's not pretty, because he's one of their best penalty killers. He's their fastest skater. All of a sudden, they become a lot slower, a bigger, lumbering team without him.
Well, okay.
They're going to be in trouble.
Looking at Cap Friendly right now, and let's just do a slow analysis of this. The cap is going up to $82.5 million. they have 83.8 million in salary already, which means they're going to have to dump players. Now, they don't have many free agents. Matthias Janmark is a UFA. So is Riley Smith. So they're going to, either lose Riley Smith or have to trade somebody.
They're going to lose him.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's been speculation about the Rangers because of Gallant. But if they don't want to lose him, they're going to have to trade players to make room to be able to re-sign him. The issue here is, and I said this on a previous show, I think that you've seen the last of Max Pacioretty. He's got $7 million in the final year of his deal. He's 33 years old. He was injured for half the season. I think, he still may have something left, and maybe you can find somebody to take that full $7 million. If it's dumping him on Arizona, maybe that, but I think there are teams out there that have cap space that see him, as a 1 year risk,
maybe
that they could make that move. But, I think that also they're going to probably trade Dadonov. And that's why if they trade Dadonov and they trade Pacioretty, then they can bring Riley Smith back. Now, if Riley Smith doesn't want to come back, then they probably keep Dadonov. But I think that's where they start in terms of their moves. But the big question, like you said, is Leonard. And I don't know if the rift between him and DeBoer is something that's irreparable. And if that's the case, then you're talking about either trading the goalie, firing the coach, or trading the goalie and firing the coach. And I think option C is a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a possibility. I really don't know what's going to happen. But I do want to read a tweet here.
Okay.
So, Nick Alberg, who I know from radio, put of the top 12 picks in 2015, Jack Eichel is yet to play in the Stanley Cup playoff game. Notice that they had to cut it off at 12. If he could have done it for 20, he'd have done it for 20. Right. Jack Eichel just happens to be an anomaly that he hasn't made the playoffs. Putting that up there doesn't mean anything, doesn't show anything about Jack Eichel, the player. He's a great player. He has not kept his team from making the playoffs. He's never kept his team from making the playoffs. But yet there's going to be tweets like this, and they're going to be parsed to try and make it look like, oh my God, look at all these guys, they've made the playoffs, but not Eichel.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, Eichel had an injury history with the Sabres, but, he put forth 5 pretty good seasons before getting injured last year. But as we have, I think, described vividly, the Buffalo Sabres, up until recently, have been a complete and utter cluster F of an organization.
Right.
From the ownership going down to coaching with Ralph Kruger. Now, Don Granato's done a great job. Kevin Adams has done a pretty decent job as a new GM. So, and they extremely overachieved this year. But all those things are not Jack Eichel's fault. This organization traded Ryan O'Reilly. This organization signed Taylor Hall when they didn't need to sign Taylor Hall. This organization had a 40-goal scorer who they paid $9 million to in Jeff Skinner and put him on the 4th line. I can't make up this crap.
No, but here's some more garbage. Sportsnet stats. The Sabres have a better go of things, have had a better go of things since Jack Eichel made his Golden Knights debut. Oh, so now you're telling me the Sabres are better since they've lost Jack Eichel. Except Jack Eichel wasn't playing for anybody because he didn't start the season playing for anybody. It's an irrelevant stat. He wasn't playing for the Sabres. He was injured for them like he was injured for Vegas. So come on, people. This is just, I can't believe how everybody's just trying to dump on this guy.
Yeah, and, I heard the statistic that I think he had a secondary assist in the game against Dallas. Before that, he had gone scoreless, I think, in 4 or 5 games. And he ended right now, they have a game left. He's got 22 points in 33 games. Okay, this is the problem. This is a guy who didn't play for a year. This is a guy who had a major surgery.
We talked about this. We knew he wasn't going to be the same guy, but we've also have to recognize that's a pretty good year for a guy who had a bad neck, and it was questionable if he'd even play this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think
And how's it his fault? Honestly.
well, okay. You know what the thing is? I think the the fault here lies with the perception, and maybe perception is reality. That okay, Eichel forced his way out of Buffalo. Yes, he did. Did he force his way out of Buffalo because they wouldn't let him have the surgery? That was part of it. The other part of it was he, like we've seen with other players in other situations, he wanted to get out of an organization that he saw wasted the first 5 or 6 years of his career. He sees the compatriots, the guys who he was drafted in the same draft year or the following draft year, getting to the playoffs. Connor McDavid has made the playoffs, I think, 3 or 4 times. Austin Matthews has made the playoffs every single year. Eichel, 0. Is that all on him? No. Is it partially on him? Maybe.
No, but now there's Sabres fans that are like, oh, look, Tage Thompson's better than Jack Eichel. It's like, shut up.
Yeah. Okay.
Shut up. We like Tage Thompson, but shut up.
If Tage Thompson was better than Jack Eichel, then the Sabres organization was dumb to sign him to a 2-year bridge deal.
Right, because they'll never sign him again.
Right, because even though I think he's an RFA after that, yeah, in arbitration, 1 year away from unrestricted free agency, he'll probably get like $7 million. If he follows up this year with another 30-goal year playing center, oh gee, how much are big centers? How much do they earn on the market? Lots. Yeah. So, I mean, please, until this year, until Don Granato had the good sense of moving Tage Thompson to center, which was, by the way, that was not the plan. They said, okay, I think Middlestat got hurt, so they moved Thompson to center and discovered that he could play center. Until that happened, this team didn't really have a number 2 center, didn't really have a number 1 center. So,
yeah,
we'll see. Go ahead.
This is all nonsense. It is. It's piling on nonsense that you see on Twitter, and everybody gets this mob mentality.
Yeah. So, okay, but just to go over like what happened last night, and I think there were 5 games in the league last night, but pretty much, we see what the matchups are going to end up like right now. There could be some movement here, but just going into the East right now, Carolina's got a game left, and they've locked up first place in the Metro, so they will face the second wild card or the first wild card, and that's Boston. So Carolina and Boston, unless Boston catches Tampa, which is unlikely, they mathematically they can still do it. They're 3 points behind. If they win both games, they play Buffalo tonight, in Toronto tomorrow. If Tampa loses both games, even if they earn a point in overtime in one of those games, Boston would catch them for third place, but more than likely, and I don't know who Tampa plays in the last game, but they play Columbus tonight. So let me see here. Just looking up here just to make sure. Tampa plays at Columbus, and they play at the Islanders. So, yeah, it's very unlikely that Tampa loses both those games. And that Boston wins both those games. We'll see. So Carolina, Boston looks like a lock. There's still a little wiggle room here in terms of Pittsburgh and Washington battling for third. Yeah. Washington is a point behind Pittsburgh, but Washington, as you said, Russ, Ovechkin is out. He's probably out the last 2 games.
He is.
Tristan Jarry, there's a big question mark about whether he plays. Probably not. So right now, it could be Washington. Now, here's the question. Do the Rangers have a preference of who they would rather play?
I mean, does the team know? I don't think you ever want to play a team with Ovechkin. So I think they probably would rather play Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I can see Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, without their number 1 goaltender, I mean, not to say that Washington's got great goaltending in Varlamov, or sorry, not Varlamov, instead of Samsonov or Vanacek. Yeah, I mean, if I were the Rangers, I would rather play Pittsburgh, and they've had success against Pittsburgh this year in the regular season,
and in the last couple of years too.
Now, Florida will play the loser of that battle, either Pittsburgh or Washington in the first round. I could see Florida not wanting to play Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh could hang with them with all their experience. Now Casey DeSmith in goal, that's probably the great equalizer. But
Yeah.
if Jari is capable of coming back and playing, then maybe they have a chance. But I would think that they would rather play Washington with a hampered Ovechkin than Pittsburgh with everybody on defense and at forward on track, and then probably stepping up with the backup goalie in the goal.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's right.
It looks like a foregone conclusion that Toronto will play Tampa. I'm sure everybody's rubbing their hands with glee.
I'm not rubbing my hands. I just think they can win the series. I
don't think so. But hey, stranger things have happened, and the Leafs have had a good year. But Tampa seems to be turning it on at the right time. They've won 4 games in a row. They've got the league's best goaltender.
Michael Bunting's on my Calder list.
Yes.
Where he is on the list, I'm not going to say, but he's on it.
He's on mine too, as well.
I don't think that's a big surprise that he's on yours, but for the people that like to have fun with me about Bunting, he's on my list.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the 5th place vote. Okay.
Now, but how many are the Leafs going to lose in, Mike? That's the question. If they're going to lose, how many is it going to be in?
6.
In 6.
6 or 7. It'll be a close series, but I think in the end, the experience of Tampa and Campbell can step it up.
They're not going to get swept.
No, I don't think they'll get swept. No.
Yeah.
Going to the West, right now, there is the battle for the President's Trophy, if that really matters at all. I don't think it does, but Florida is 2 points ahead of Colorado. With Florida's got 2 games left. Colorado has 2 games left. So
I think Florida's going to win that battle.
Yeah, I don't think it's majorly important, but whatever. Yeah. It's nice to have. But okay, Colorado has top spot in the West right now, with Vegas eliminated. It's either Nashville or Dallas. In that an outside possibility of LA but it's more than likely Nashville or Dallas. And I don't know. I'll tell you one thing right now, with the news that's come out about Saros, it doesn't sound good. Colorado, I think, would like to play Nashville.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because who are they facing again? Tyler Parsons?
No, probably David Rittich.
David Rittich. But did they bring up Parsons? Is that?
No, they brought up Connor Ingram.
Connor Ingram. Sorry, I get those two mixed up. Yeah, either way, David Rittich. Yeah, they would love to see that.
Yeah. Now, if it's Dallas, Dallas last night, they did their utmost to almost blow their playoff chances.
Really bad. Wow.
They were up 3-0 to Arizona, and Arizona came back to tie it.
Wow.
Dallas is the only team, and I'm just checking this. Yeah, Dallas is the only team of the 16 playoff teams to have a negative goal differential. And that's saying something.
Because they haven't been that good.
Yeah. Now
they made the playoffs. Good for them. I'm happy for Jim Nill because I happen to like Jim Nill a lot, so it'll keep him in his job. But do they have a great chance in the playoffs? No.
Well, I know that people have pointed to the fact that they have 45 wins, 15 of them in overtime or shootout.
Yeah.
So 30 regulation wins. That's the lowest of any playoff team. So that's, in terms, why does that mean anything? Well, if you go to overtime in the playoffs, it's a flip of the coin. It's a roll of the dice.
Got to keep playing.
So Edmonton, LA is a lock. And honestly, I think LA is probably one of the only teams that Edmonton could beat.
Yeah.
LA, and this is LA without Mikey Anderson, LA without Drew Doughty. Jonathan Quick, it'd have to be 2012 Jonathan Quick to be able to win this series.
Kings will win 1 or 2. I don't think they'll do much more than that.
Right. The only thing that gives Kings fans some hope is the fact that you have 2 of the best lockdown centers in the NHL in Kopitar and Danault that you can match up against McDavid.
And I do want to point out, Tobias Bjornfot only has 6 penalty minutes the whole year. Like, he really is a terrific young defenseman who probably never gets talked about. The positive here for the Kings, and look, Quentin Byfield looks better. The positive here for the Kings is, if you remember, I've been saying for the last couple of years, I felt like their retool time would be shorter than most. I didn't think they were going to do it this year, but clearly it's shorter than most because they've done a good job with drafting and developing.
Yeah, no, they have, and we know, you know.
And even like yesterday, Gabe Velarde had like a goal and 2 assists. You know, he's a guy that'll help them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we looked at the Kings at the beginning of the season and saw, you know, the young guys that they had, and even here's the thing, even guys that they sort of not picked up off the scrap heap, but guys that were thought to be role players. A guy like Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore had a fantastic year this year. 48 points. Led the team led all their forwards in plus minus, 17 goals. This was a guy who was a fourth line guy with Toronto, got included in one of the I think it was the Campbell deal, the Clow Clifford Campbell deal.
Yeah.
And you know, and he's from Southern California, and he's been a role player for them, but he's been a really effective guy. And you know, they have Kaliev, they have Dursey, they have
guys who can play.
Yeah. So I mean,
they're just not there yet. Like, we know they're getting dangerous, though. Like, if they pick up the right free agent in an offseason, if Johnny Gaudreau goes there, watch out.
Yeah, and Dustin Brown's contract is up, and maybe he comes back, but maybe he comes back as a veteran minimum instead of making $6 million. So they have the room to make some moves. So, but them getting into the playoffs is a victory for them. Let's see. So Colorado would play either Dallas or Nashville. Calgary would play the other one of those teams. As we said yesterday, Calgary, Nashville, blood feud, war.
Oh yeah.
That'll be throwback. That'll be like Boston Buffalo from the 80s, something like that. It'll be really an exciting matchup. I don't know how exciting in terms of goal scoring, but physically it'll be a knockdown drag out. And Minnesota St. Louis, the only thing that has to be determined is home ice advantage. And right now, Minnesota has the advantage slightly because they have 2 games left, whereas St. Louis has 1 game left. They both have 109 points. So it's
going to be one of the best series. It will.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get past the regular season record. Maybe I have to, because that, what is it, 11-1 or 9-1 or something like that. It's just like that St. Louis has dominated Minnesota. I mean, I like Minnesota as a playoff team. If they weren't playing St. Louis, that's a big hurdle to get past.
It is. I gotta say, I'm looking at this picture from the Dallas Stars that says that they're in and they're returning in the playoffs. They have either UFOs or like Dallas Stars starships behind them. Like if you look at the picture, Mike, go look at it on Twitter. Okay. It looks like the world is ending.
So maybe it's the Dallas Stars Twitter feed.
Yes. Maybe if the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup, the world will end. Because this looks like a picture from Armageddon more than.
Yes. Yeah, no, it looks like Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, a little Endgame. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, who's piloting that ship? Not Rick Bowness. I hope not.
No, it's Thanos. Thanos is piloting the ship. Okay. We'll take some questions. We're just going to do a short show today. Eck was unavoidably detained, and there's not a lot of news going on. We did see that Canada lost in the under 18s.
We noticed,
which is surprising since we had Connor Bedard, who's the number 1 overall pick, likely not this draft but the following draft, like lighting it up for Canada. But it's proof that you need more than just one player to win it.
Guy won't do it.
Let's see. Should Stamkos be considered for the Masterton Trophy with his 100-point season, which is the first time for him? Well, okay, I believe he was the nominee for, but the Masterton is more for I mean, okay, he's had a history of injuries, and his getting 100 points at this time in his career, where I think he's 32,
It
is
is perseverance. That's
his
part of it.
yes.
But probably when he's older. He's still
Yeah.
a little young.
I'll tell you that I did not vote for Stamkos for one of the three nominations. For one of the three. But he was in consideration. I gave consideration to more of the veteran players who are close to retirement or on the verge of retirement.
And even though somebody called me a Ranger hack, I did vote for an Islander in the Masterton in the top 3.
Mark is asking what happened to Julius Honka. Well, he went back to Finland, then he came back to the Stars.
It just never worked out for him.
I think he's still down in the AHL, and I thought that he had a chance to be a good player and just never came to
I did too, but the thing was, I guess the hockey IQ never really aligned with NHL quality. I think that's what it boiled down to.
Now, we talked about Fiala before, and there's a situation with him. He's an RFA with arbitration rights, 1 year away from unrestricted free agency, and he's having a big year for the Wild. This year he's got, let's see here. He has 33 goals, 51 assists, 84 points. So he's having if it wasn't for Kaprizov, he'd be their best forward. This is the thing.
We knew he was a talent. Like, we always knew that.
Yeah, but the question is, can they get him signed long term? And coming off that, they either do this. I mean, remember, they're in deep trouble when it comes to the cap because of the dead money for Parise and Suter for the buyouts.
Right.
You could see them, we've heard the rumors about them trading for Shea Weber's LTIR contract, and then putting it on there and basically wiping out more than half of the dead money. If Carey Price says I can't continue my career and he retires, but his contract is there for 4 more years, I could see that instead of Weber, they go after that contract, because remember, that's $10.5 million wiped off the books.
Right. I still think in the interim, they're going to sign him to a 1-year deal. And I think Guerin will say, let's talk at the end of the year. We'll see what our finances are like, because we'd like to keep you.
Okay, Terry 3G, Jake Muzzin, despite of how he performs in the playoffs or how far the Leafs go, what do you see for him next year? Still with the Leafs, traded, retire? Okay, I believe he's got a no move, but that's not necessarily that means anything in terms of a player not being traded. That just gives them control over where they want him to go. He's really been struggling with this year, especially. He has struggled with injury. He's been concussed twice. He's had this unknown injury. He's 33 years old. Do I think he retires? No. I think probably what happens if something happens in the playoffs, or even if he's limited in the playoffs, I could see him say, I can't play, and they just put that 2 years on LTIR and use the money someplace else. If he wants to continue to play, then I could see him getting traded back to LA, because LA needs veteran defensemen and they'll have the cap space. But I think there's a possibility he comes back. It all depends on how he plays this year in the playoffs. But they need to sign Rasmus Sandin. They need to sign Timothy Liljegren. They may want to sign Lyubushkin, and they may want to sign Giordano. So I don't know if they can do all those things unless unless something happens with Muzzin, or unless they trade Nylander. So we'll see. But I don't know. It's up in the air now. The Montreal Canadiens clinched last place, so they'll have a less than 20% chance of winning the lottery. Yes, your season is complete. Congratulations. Do you think
Marty couldn't stop him from doing that?
Yeah. Crazy question. Do you think a team in the offseason could trade for the first overall pick to get Shane Wright? No, not a chance in hell. The days of trading for the number 1 pick are over.
Yeah.
It's not like or Brian Burke trading up for the Sedin.
The only way a team would do it is if the number 1 the team with the top overall pick doesn't believe Shane Wright's the guy and wants somebody else. Then that's your only chance. But in this draft, I don't think that's happening. So no.
Yeah. Do you think there's a big Logan Cooley movement to have him drafted over Shane Wright?
No, but again, could a team become desperate enough to do that? I guess there's a like a 0.00001 chance that could happen, but the chance is that the team that gets that first pick, they're going to want Shane Wright, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's see here. Does Leonard stay if DeBoer is axed? I don't know. We were talking about that before. I think it's A, Leonard leaving, B, DeBoer leaving, C, both of them leaving.
I will say this. I said it yesterday, but I think it went unnoticed amongst all the other yelling. And I appreciate Bill C back in my Kochikov banter. Leonard has outlived coaches before.
Mm-hmm.
He has, right? We've witnessed it.
That's true. That is true. Honka burning love. There you go. Thank you, Michael Foley, for your contribution. Who needs Shane Wright the most? Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona does.
I really have.
They have Nick Schmaltz, but he's their top center, right? That's their top center, right?
Correct.
So Wright could be better than Nick Schmaltz for sure. So in the future, at least that gives them a 1 and a 2, either way.
Yeah. It ended Montreal with the best chance, Arizona, Seattle, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Chicago, but Chicago traded their pick to Columbus in the Seth Jones deal.
Right.
Ottawa, Detroit, Buffalo, and Buffalo also has Vegas's, but it's lottery protected. And
yeah, so as an example, so like the year Schmaltz had this year, which is a great year, 23 goals, 58 points. That'll be like a year Shane Wright will have like year 2.
Yeah, I think, do I think Shane Wright's going to be a superstar in this league? No. Do I think he's going to be a really good player? Yes.
Yeah.
As some people compare him, as mentioned, Hischier. Some people compare him in a sense to Hischier, more of a two-way guy, 70-point guy. I'm not going to limit him that because he has a lot of talent, but I think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be
a comparison. And I'm not ripping Esmir for this. I watched a lot of Hischier before he got into the league, and I think there's more high-level talent on both sides of the puck compared to Hischier. And Hischier's a really good player, don't get me wrong, but I think Hischier's not in the same stratosphere.
All right. Well, on the show here, we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be up in Toronto, and so I'll be doing it from a cafe.
Does anybody care? Like, why did you say that?
Because everybody cares about what I do.
All right. You say so.
For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.